Have you ever gazed at someone dear to you, perhaps a parent, grandparent, or lifelong partner, and sensed something was amiss? Not merely the natural slowing that accompanies aging, but subtle shifts that feel somehow wrong? They might be losing weight without trying, sleeping more frequently, or seeming disconnected in ways difficult to articulate. Here's a sobering reality. Many assume elderly passing happens suddenly, yet the body often sends quiet warnings months, sometimes even a full year before reaching its conclusion. The challenge is that these indicators start so subtly that families typically dismiss them as just getting older. Only in retrospect do people realize the clues were present all along. When it's too late to prepare, too late for meaningful conversations, too late to make those final moments truly count. This message isn't about creating fear, but fostering understanding. Recognizing these early signals isn't just about anticipating what's coming. It's about maximizing the remaining time. It's about ensuring your loved one's final chapter contains comfort, dignity, and peace. We'll explore several key indicators that often appear before an elderly person passes away. Some may be things you've noticed but dismissed. Others might surprise you. But understanding them now gives you the opportunity to provide better care, have essential conversations, and ensure your loved one never faces their final journey alone. What you learn today could transform how you approach the precious moments remaining with someone you cherish. Let's begin. When weight loss becomes a warning signal. Most people view weight loss positively, as something to celebrate. But when it happens to an elderly loved one, it's often a warning sign that too many families overlook until it's too late. The truth is that unexplained weight loss isn't simply part of aging. It's the body signaling deeper changes. The ability to process food efficiently begins declining. Muscles deteriorate, making even basic movements like rising from a chair or walking to another room a struggle. As strength diminishes, the risks multiply. Falls become more frequent, infections hit harder, and immune defenses weaken. Here's what often goes unmentioned. Appetite doesn't fade by accident. It signals the body gradually shutting down. Many seniors stop feeling hungry not because they've lost interest in food, but because their brain no longer sends hunger signals. Their taste buds become less sensitive, favorite meals cease to excite them, and they progressively eat smaller amounts. Families typically respond by urging their loved ones to eat more, preparing plates of once favorite dishes, or introducing calorie-dense supplements. Yet here's the uncomfortable reality. Sometimes encouraging food isn't the answer. At a certain point, weight loss isn't about diet. It's about the body preparing for its final transition. No one wants to acknowledge this. Many will resist this idea, arguing that with proper nutrition their loved one can regain strength, and sometimes briefly they do. But if weight continues dropping despite your best efforts, perhaps it's time to shift focus from calories to comfort. This is where families confront a difficult question. Should we fight to extend life regardless of cost, or should we focus on making each remaining moment meaningful? It's an emotionally charged conversation, but unavoidable. When the body sends these messages, ignoring them won't prevent what's coming. Understanding them, however, provides an opportunity to prepare with clarity, compassion, and most importantly, with love. So if your loved one is losing weight, appearing weaker, or struggling with daily activities, don't dismiss it. This isn't merely about numbers on a scale. It's about listening to what their body is trying to communicate. When exhaustion becomes a warning. Signal fatigue affects everyone occasionally, but what happens when exhaustion persists, regardless of rest? When even the simplest tasks, getting out of bed, brushing hair, or walking a few steps, feel overwhelmingly difficult? For many elderly individuals in their final year, this type of fatigue isn't merely tiredness. It signals the body beginning to shut down. Families often assume their loved one simply needs additional rest, better nutrition, or encouragement to be more active. But the reality is that this persistent exhaustion represents the body conserving remaining energy for essential functions. Think of the body as an energy grid. When everything functions properly, energy flows everywhere. Organs work, muscles move, the brain stays alert. But when energy becomes scarce, the body prioritizes survival above all else. The heart pumps less forcefully, circulation slows, and muscles receive insufficient oxygen. That's why stair climbing becomes impossible. Lifting utensils requires effort, and staying awake during conversations becomes challenging. This also explains why naps grow longer. Initially, you might notice your loved ones sleeping slightly more than usual. Then those naps extend throughout most of the day. Some seniors experience brief energy surges before quickly exhausting themselves. This isn't merely aging. It indicates metabolism slowing, redirecting resources from movement toward basic survival. One of the most painful aspects isn't just physical weakness, but its emotional impact. Many seniors who once prided themselves on independence begin feeling ashamed of their limitations. Someone who prepared every meal now struggles to stand at the stove. A grandparent who played actively with grandchildren may now prefer observing from a distance, too exhausted to participate. This can lead to something even more heartbreaking: withdrawal. Not because they don't love their family or wish to engage, but because they physically cannot. Loud conversations become overwhelming. Outings feel impossible, and even responding to simple questions requires too much effort. Eventually, many seniors stop trying altogether, not from giving up, but because their bodies have. For families, this proves deeply frustrating. Watching someone transition from active and engaged to quiet and distant is difficult. Many urge their loved ones to rise and move or push through tiredness. But here's the harsh truth: this isn't something they can overcome through willpower. This raises a challenging question. Should you encourage activity or permit rest? Many believe keeping loved ones engaged, making them walk, talk, and participate, extends their lives. But forcing activity sometimes causes more harm than good. While movement matters, when the body naturally slows, rest becomes not just necessary, but vital. The key is balance. Rather than pushing, focus on creating meaningful moments within their energy constraints. Instead of urging them to walk around, sit beside them, hold their hand, share stories. Rather than taking them out, bring the world to them. If you notice your loved one sleeping significantly more than before, struggling with even minor tasks, experiencing brief alertness before quickly tiring, or withdrawing from conversations and social interactions, this isn't normal aging. Their body is communicating with you, and the kindest response isn't pushing, but listening. Exhaustion at this level rarely reverses, but our response can change. Instead of frustration, we can offer patience. Instead of expectations, understanding. And instead of focusing on what they cannot do, we can treasure what they still can. When your loved one withdraws, there comes a heartbreaking moment in every family's journey when you look at someone dear and realize they aren't fully present anymore. They sit silently, gazing into space, no longer participating in conversations they once enjoyed. They stop asking about family members. The light in their eyes dims. It's among the most painful realities of aging, feeling like you're losing them before they've actually gone. But what's happening within their mind? Why does someone who once thrived on social connections suddenly withdraw? And importantly, how can we support them through this transition? One frustrating aspect of late-stage cognitive changes is their unpredictability. One day your loved one seems clear and present, recalling old stories and engaging in meaningful discussions. The next, they appear confused, disoriented, or unable to recognize familiar faces. This inconsistency stems from fluctuations in oxygen and blood circulation to the brain. Research indicates the brain requires substantial oxygen, but as circulation weakens, it receives less oxygen-rich blood. This causes temporary confusion, memory lapses, and mental fogginess. Some individuals experience moments of clarity, brief periods where they seem completely normal before returning to confusion. Studies have found that many elderly individuals approaching life's end experience sudden episodes of lucidity, moments where they recall detailed memories and recognize loved ones. While these moments feel precious, they sometimes create false hope, making the decline even harder to accept. At first, families might assume their loved one withdraws because they feel resentful or depressed. But often, it's not an emotional choice, but a neurological shift. Loud sounds become overwhelming as the brain struggles to process complex sensory input, making conversations, television, and even background noise exhausting. Socializing demands too much energy, as cognitive function slows, making thought formation, detail recall, and staying engaged in conversations physically draining. The brain gradually stops prioritizing emotional responses as regions responsible for processing emotions receive less stimulation, causing individuals to become emotionally detached. Research has found that individuals experiencing cognitive decline often lose their ability to recognize emotional cues. This means they might not respond to humor, show excitement, or react to distressing news as they once did. Consider Beatrice, who noticed her mother Henrietta withdrawing from family gatherings. Initially, she thought fatigue was responsible. But even when sitting quietly with family, Henrietta would stare vacantly at the table, barely responding to conversation. One day, Beatrice showed her an old photograph album, hoping to spark a reaction. Instead, Henrietta smiled faintly and set it aside. Beatrice realized it wasn't that her mother didn't care. Her brain simply wasn't processing emotions as before. This illustrates why patience becomes essential. Your loved one isn't ignoring you or being cold. Their brain is changing, requiring you to meet them where they are. Not all seniors become quiet. Some grow more irritable, anxious, or even hostile. As cognitive function declines, emotional regulation weakens. The brain's rational thinking controls deteriorate, making minor frustrations feel overwhelming. Fight or flight responses become overactive, causing sudden anxiety or anger. Cognitive fatigue makes emotional processing harder, leading to mood fluctuations. For instance, asking your loved one what they'd prefer for dinner might trigger an unexpected angry response, completely out of character. This isn't them being difficult. Their brain struggles to keep pace, and frustration emerges as irritation. Research shows many individuals with advanced cognitive decline experience personality shifts, ranging from increased frustration to complete emotional detachment. Consider Arthur, always a gentle, loving father, who began snapping at his wife over minor issues as his cognitive abilities declined. He accused her of moving his belongings even when nothing had been touched. One day he became angry about a television remote, then dissolved into tears, unable to explain his reaction. His wife later discovered his brain was misinterpreting reality, making him feel constantly out of control. This demonstrates why patience matters more than correction. Instead of asking, "Why are you so upset?" try, "Everything's all right. I'm here with you. You're safe." Even when their brain struggles to recognize faces, it can still respond to love and reassurance. If your loved one experiences confusion, emotional withdrawal, or personality changes, consider these approaches. Create a calm environment by reducing noise, bright lights, and overwhelming stimuli. Use simple, clear communication without overwhelming them with questions. Speak gently and patiently. Engage them in familiar routines. Play soft music they love. Provide a favorite blanket. Or simply hold their hand for comfort. Avoid correcting them. If they believe it's a different year, don't force reality. Meet them where they feel secure. Understand that emotional responses may change. Love doesn't always appear as before, but remains present. Many families struggle during this phase. Some feel guilty for insufficient effort. Others try bringing back their loved one by pushing engagement. The reality is that cognitive decline rarely reverses. What you can do is make every moment meaningful. When the body stops fighting, imagine this. Your father, previously resilient against illness, suddenly seems vulnerable to every ailment. Colds, coughs, infections. A minor scratch takes weeks to heal. He requires multiple courses of antibiotics for previously trivial issues. Initially, you attribute it to unfortunate timing or a difficult season, but the pattern continues regardless of your interventions. His body no longer recovers as before. This represents one of the clearest indicators that the body is shutting down. Yet most families miss it. The immune system functions like an army constantly battling invaders. But as someone approaches life's end, that army weakens. White blood cell production decreases, circulation diminishes, and the body cannot defend itself as effectively. Research shows elderly individuals produce significantly fewer white blood cells than younger adults, increasing vulnerability to infections. As heart function weakens, blood flow decreases, meaning cuts, bruises, and wounds don't receive the oxygen and nutrients needed for healing. During final months, the body stops prioritizing repair, beginning a gradual natural shutdown. Perhaps, most concerning, infections in seniors often present differently than expected. Many families anticipate high fevers or visible symptoms, but initial signs are typically subtle and easily overlooked. Consider these revealing situations families wish they had recognized earlier. Helena's disappearing appetite. Helena had always been resilient, but her daughter Naomi noticed something unusual. Her mother gradually ate less and less. She wasn't ill or complaining of discomfort, just different. A week later, she became disoriented, forgetting the date. Naomi attributed this to aging, but medical examination revealed a severe urinary tract infection that had progressed undetected for weeks. Robert's persistent wound. Robert, a retired teacher, cut his hand while repairing furniture. The injury seemed minor, but weeks later remained red and swollen. His family assumed healing simply took longer with age. Then one morning he woke with high fever and confusion. By the time he reached medical care, the infection had entered his bloodstream. Samuel's misdiagnosed illness. Samuel developed what his family considered a simple cold. He felt tired, weak, and lacked appetite, but showed no cough or fever, just exhaustion. 2 weeks later, doctors diagnosed pneumonia. His body had stopped responding normally. These stories share a common thread. Warning signs existed, but didn't match expectations. Have you noticed elderly individuals sometimes require increasingly powerful antibiotics for simple infections? That's because their immune system no longer supports medication effectively. A losing battle. Research indicates that respiratory infections, urinary tract infections, and skin infections are common infections signaling bodily decline. Studies show a significant percentage of hospitalized seniors succumb to infections that previously would have been treatable. The more antibiotics they require, the less effective these become. Eventually, families must consider: are we extending life or merely prolonging suffering? Because infections present differently in the elderly, watch for these warning signs. Sudden confusion or forgetfulness instead of fever. Appetite loss or dehydration instead of pain. Extreme fatigue or withdrawal, rather than obvious symptoms. Wounds healing unusually slowly. If your loved one shows these signs, don't dismiss them as normal aging. Their body might be sending important messages. For many families, there comes a moment requiring difficult decisions. Should we continue treating every infection with more medication and hospitalizations? Or should we accept the body's transition and prioritize comfort? This represents one of life's hardest choices, but understanding what's happening can help you make appropriate decisions for your loved one. The hardest choice. When to focus on comfort. For many families, a point arrives when medical intervention no longer saves life but merely postpones the inevitable. The greatest challenge isn't deciding whether to pursue another antibiotic course, another hospital stay, or another treatment. It's acknowledging that additional medicine won't change the outcome. Eventually, priorities shift from curing to comforting. If you're struggling with such decisions, you're not alone. Every family reaches this crossroads, wondering whether to continue fighting or transition toward peace. But here's something medical professionals rarely emphasize. Sometimes discontinuing aggressive treatment actually provides your loved one a more peaceful, dignified conclusion. Consider these families who faced this difficult decision. Catherine's endless hospital visits. Catherine's elderly Aunt Edith had battled infections for months. Each recovery was quickly followed by another illness. The hospital became their second home with continuous antibiotic treatments. Then, one day, a physician quietly asked, "Is this what she would want?" That question resonated deeply. Catherine realized she was fighting to keep her aunt alive without providing the peaceful, pain-free existence Edith deserved. William's decision favoring comfort. William's father Thomas had always been strong, but after several hospitalizations, within months, he stopped responding to treatments. His doctor gently explained that his body had simply become too weak to fight infections. William's family decided to bring him home, focusing on comfort and allowing him to spend final days surrounded by love instead of medical equipment in sterile environments. He passed peacefully in his own bed, holding his son's hand. Sarah's regret about lost home time. Sarah's grandmother Elizabeth experienced recurring pneumonia hospitalizations. The family continuously pushed for aggressive treatments, believing they were acting appropriately. But Elizabeth spent her final months in hospital beds rather than at home where she wished to be. Sarah later admitted, "I wish we'd stopped sooner and prioritized her comfort instead of subjecting her to additional suffering." These stories highlight something crucial. Eventually, quality of life outweighs quantity. Instead of pursuing additional treatments when your loved one constantly battles infections, consider these expert-recommended comfort approaches. Prioritize hydration, as dehydration further weakens the body. Offer small sips of water, broth, or electrolyte drinks. Maintain skin health, as chronic infections weaken skin, making it vulnerable to sores. Use moisturizing lotions, soft bedding, and repositioning techniques to prevent pressure wounds. Manage discomfort naturally through warm compresses, gentle massages, or soothing essential oils, rather than relying exclusively on medication. Create peaceful surroundings. Hospitals are often cold, noisy, and stressful. If possible, consider hospice care at home where your loved one can be surrounded by warmth, family, and familiar settings. Most importantly, respect their wishes. Ask yourself what they would choose between another hospitalization or a quiet, peaceful transition at home, offering maximum dignity. Many people feel guilty choosing comfort care over aggressive treatment, but here's the truth. Choosing comfort isn't surrendering. It ensures remaining time contains love, peace, and dignity. Understanding changes in breathing. There's something profound about witnessing a loved one's breathing patterns change. It signals the body preparing for its final phase, but these changes often frighten families who don't understand what's happening or how to help. Breathing during life's final stage doesn't match what most people imagine. Watch for these significant breathing changes. Shallow or slowed breathing. Your loved one might breathe more slowly with extended pauses between breaths. They might appear to stop momentarily before taking a sudden deeper breath. Irregular breathing patterns. Some develop rhythmic patterns of deep, rapid breaths followed by long pauses. While unsettling, this represents a natural process. Mouth breathing or gurgling sounds. As the body loses ability to clear fluids, you might notice soft gurgling or rattling throat sounds. This doesn't necessarily indicate distress, it's simply the body's natural response as swallowing reflexes weaken. These changes occur because the brain sends fewer signals to breathing muscles, causing inconsistent rhythms. Meanwhile, circulation weakens, reducing oxygen levels and creating cold extremities and bluish skin tone. Consider these families' experiences. Isabella's final hours. Isabella's family noticed her hands and feet growing colder, while her breathing became slow and irregular. They panicked, believing she was struggling, but a caregiver reassured them. "She's not suffering. Her body is simply slowing down." This knowledge comforted the family, allowing them to hold her hand and whisper soothing words during her final moments. Victor's peaceful transition. Victor's daughter Olivia recalled her father's final hours, when his breathing became shallow and his lips slightly blue. "Initially I felt afraid, but when I held his hand and spoke softly, his expression relaxed. That's when I understood he wasn't suffering. He was letting go." Maria's unexpected clarity. Maria had been drifting between consciousness levels, breathing irregularly, but just before passing, she suddenly took one deep, steady breath and opened her eyes. She looked at her family and whispered, "I love you all," then quietly departed. These moments feel profound. While difficult to witness, understanding what's occurring helps you remain present rather than fearful. To make their final moments peaceful, keep their room quiet and calm. Soft lighting, gentle voices, and familiar scents ease transition. Offer reassurance. Even when unconscious, they likely still hear you. Speak gently, hold their hand, remind them they're loved. Avoid panicking. Understanding these changes helps you provide comfort instead of showing fear. Focus on presence rather than fixing. There's nothing to fix at this stage. Your presence offers the greatest gift possible. When breathing becomes difficult. Watching. Someone's struggle for breath ranks among life's most distressing experiences. Activities once effortless, standing, speaking, or simply sitting quietly, now leave them gasping. Your natural reaction is panic, calling for medical intervention, seeking anything to improve their condition. But what if there's no solution? What if this represents not illness but the body's natural slowing? Understanding these changes won't make them easier but can help transform panic into peace, fear into comfort, fixing into acceptance, ensuring your loved one's final days contain dignity rather than distress. Breathing is controlled by the brainstem, but as the body shuts down, brain signals weaken and breathing patterns change. Research shows lungs lose elasticity with age, making deep breaths harder. As heart function diminishes, circulation slows, delivering less oxygen to muscles and causing shortness of breath with minimal movement. Fluid accumulation in the lungs, called pulmonary congestion, occurs as circulation weakens, creating persistent coughing and gurgling sounds. Studies show many elderly individuals in their final months experience chronic breathlessness even without lung disease. While these changes aren't necessarily painful, they can cause discomfort, which is why appropriate responses make tremendous difference. Consider these families' experiences with final breaths. Sophia's last night at home. Sophia had always remained active, but during her final months, even sitting up left her breathless. Her family noticed her sleeping upright in a recliner since lying flat made breathing difficult. One evening, her daughter Rebecca became alarmed when Sophia's breathing turned slow and irregular, but their hospice nurse reassured them this was normal, advising comfort measures. They dimmed lights, held her hand, and simply remained present. By morning she had departed peacefully at home, surrounded by loved ones. Jacob's final words. Jacob, a retired professor, had struggled with breathlessness for weeks. Each sentence left him winded. His granddaughter Emma told him, "No need to speak, grandfather, just rest." But Jacob shook his head and whispered, "This is my final lesson. Let me finish." His family allowed him to proceed at his own pace, breathing between words. An hour later he fell asleep and never awakened. Giving him space to speak allowed him to share one last precious moment. Andrew's peaceful departure. Andrew's wife Patricia awoke one morning noticing something different. He wasn't struggling anymore. His breathing remained slow and steady, but quieter. She sat beside him, holding his hand. No more gasping, no more effort, just gentle slowing. When the nurse arrived, she told Patricia, "He's letting go." And moments later he did, without pain or distress. Just quiet, peaceful passing, to help ease breathing in the final stage. Adjust their position. If they struggle breathing while lying down, prop them with pillows or let them rest in a recliner. Gravity helps prevent fluid accumulation in lungs. Keep the air cool and humidified. A cool room with a humidifier eases breathing. Dry air worsens congestion while heat increases breathlessness. Offer small water sips or ice chips. Dehydration thickens mucus, making breathing harder, but avoid forcing large amounts as they may have difficulty swallowing. Use gentle reassurance, rather than panic if they pause between breaths. Resist urging them awake. Instead, hold their hand, speak softly. Ensure they know you're present. Avoid overstimulation. Bright lights, loud noises, or excessive talking can overwhelm. Keep their environment peaceful. Understand that gurgling sounds don't indicate suffering. The death rattle represents excess fluid they cannot clear. Rather than suctioning, gently turn their head sideways to assist drainage. Oxygen therapy might help but isn't always necessary. Many families assume oxygen provision helps, but during late-stage decline, it often makes little difference. Consult healthcare providers about whether it's truly beneficial. During final hours, breathing slows further. Watch for extended pauses between breaths, sometimes lasting many seconds. Irregular breathing patterns, cold extremities, or bluish lips from reduced circulation. These don't signal distress but natural processes. Stay close. Your presence provides greatest comfort. Speak softly. Even without response, they likely hear you. Release fear. This represents their transition, and your calmness helps them feel secure. In their final moments, they need not a doctor, machine, or cure. They need you. They need to feel safe, loved, at peace. though they may not express it. Your presence, voice, and hand holding theirs communicates everything necessary. You are not alone. You are loved. You may let go whenever ready. One day we'll all face this moment, whether as the person departing or holding a loved one's hand while whispering comfort as they take final breaths. We easily focus on what we're losing, strength fading, memories slipping away, conversations quieting. But what if instead of viewing this as ending, we recognized it as opportunity? A chance to love more deeply, be more present, express things often left unsaid. Ultimately, life's value isn't measured by duration, but by how well we use our time. If you notice these signs in someone beloved, don't delay. Hold their hand, express what they mean to you. Share stories bringing smiles, help them feel safe, cherished, and peaceful. Because long after they've gone, you won't remember fighting to keep them alive. You'll remember the moments you made meaningful. What wisdom have you gained about life and love from an elderly family member? What has someone facing life's end taught you about living fully? Your story might support others walking this difficult path. If this message has helped you understand a loved one's final journey, please share it with others who might benefit. Life's greatest lessons often come from those preparing to leave us, if we're willing to listen.